the name. Okay. Good morning. I'd like to start the meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have Commissioner Pierce here today by a telephone. Can you hear us, Leanne?
I am here.
Okay. Item number 3, invitation for a citizen to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. I have several individuals that would like to speak. We'll give you 5 minutes to speak. Starting, I guess I got Tom Stanberg. Would you please come forward? I guess Tom is not here. George, gone? Would you state your name and your business?
Yep.
Is a mic on there?
Yep, green light's on.
Okay.
Good morning, I'm George Scahn. I live at 47456 219th Street. And mainly I'm here to talk about the setbacks for the confined animal spaces. I believe Ben Stout's going to talk about that today. I just wanted to, well, first what I wanted to say is thank you for serving. The only time anybody ever comes to this stuff is when they fight. We go back a little bit with the airport and stuff, and I just have a great respect for the process and the people who serve. I just can't say that enough. And sorry for being the one who only gets interested when something bad affects them, but that's ultimately what this amounts to. I just would like you guys to analyze the setback for the CAFO's confined animal space, and either put it on a fast track or delay a decision with the proposed Riverview Dairy. Can you see any of my documents here? Okay. Is this a good spot here?
She'll tell you where to put them.
Okay.
There.
This is out of the documentation on the, I'll hold it still. You might want to, okay. That is weird. Okay. This is mainly what I wanted to talk about. The existing zoning is clearly outdated, with Riverview coming in at 9,500 cattle. The or more is really out there for speculation. This is another thing that is out of the documentation as far as the established residences and setbacks, 2,640 feet. I just strongly want to emphasize that the zoning committee should reanalyze these setbacks before anybody makes a decision with the dairy. If you look at these numbers, I'm hoping the math is right, but it was clearly designed, 2,000 or more. I mean, or more could be 1 million. I mean, obviously, half a mile setback ain't good for 1 million. And these are just some rough numbers of the patterns that were set up. If it's up to 1,000, it's 1,320. If it goes up to 2,000, it basically double. These numbers double per incremental doubling here. And I just want to strongly emphasize that I think this needs to be reviewed before any decision happens with a proposed dairy. really not making a statement against Riverview. We've went on site. They seem like a good company. But this is really about local residents, sight, sound, smell. I've done some research, and other areas recommend 3 miles. And, this is one that's in kilometers. But ultimately, they got like a 3-mile setback to keep the neighbors happy. Another thing out there is we've got a hog confinement roughly 2.5, 3 miles away from us, and we can occasionally smell it. So a half a mile is clearly not a far enough setback for that. And there again, I guess I'll keep it short. I know you guys have a lot of stuff to do. Well, anyway, I just thank you for taking the time to listen. And on these, if you look at the pattern that was set up, it's really clear that at the time these were set up, 2,000 was the largest, and we're looking at 5 times that now. So I just want you guys to have this on your radar, and I know they're in the process of reviewing all of that, but I think it needs to be fast-tracked, or I think it needs to be delayed before a decision's made. Anyway, that's all. Thank you very much for your time. I think I kept it under 5 minutes.
Yep. Thank you. The next would be Londa Hexum.
I represent some private landowners in Madera Township. Personally, we own land, quite a bit of land in Madera Township. Sections 18, 17, 16, 10, we rent 21, 20, 30, 27, around the country club area to the east. And as you know, the Big Sioux River is one of our largest rivers in the township, in the county, and I feel like as a community, we need to address this a little better. So the purpose of me being here and taking your time is to just bring attention to that. I've had a conversation or two with Leanne Pierce as well as some neighbors, and we're just really frustrated with how we're going to handle the Big Sioux River. When I talked to Jay Gilbertson at East River Water yesterday, they did measurements yesterday afternoon, and the flow of the river on the Sinai Road or 206th Street, the bridge in question that's been lowered, it's within a half a mile west of the Country Club Road. Are y'all familiar with where I'm talking? So that's the main previous channel for the river. If you go west, there's another bridge, cement bridge, and that's where 68% of the river is flowing. We've got 31 to 32 flowing in the original channel. That's because up north, probably I'm estimating a half a mile, there's some private land that's in a 100-year WRP, and to fix that dike, the landowner is willing, but the Corps of Engineers has to okay it. The Corps of Engineers was out. The Water District was out. The NRCS was out. 6 years ago, we tried to address this problem, and we involved Bob Hill as well. Got letters, got application to the Corps, and we really got nowhere when the guy from the Corps came out and said, well, what are you going to do? It's a meandering river. Your roads and bridges are affected just as our townships and our private land. Those landowners, that's the only access we have is the next mile south of 216th, which is 217th. In that mile of road is 3 culverts, another 3 culverts, and then a culvert here and there. The elevation, and I tried to take pictures, but they really do you no good. The elevation is such that the middle 3 culverts that are handling the mass of the water, it's building up and pooling, swirling, sediment is falling, and it's not getting through from the north side to the south side. The north side is, even after 2.5 inches of rain a couple days ago, we've had 5.5, I think, in the last week. From the north side to the south side, the north side 3 on that side, those 3 culverts are probably a third full. There's sediment, there's rubbish. On the south side, it's not even up to a quarter, and it's blowing right through there, and I can show you pictures of such things here. I didn't want to take too much time, but I do have plenty of aerial photos and live camera photos I've taken. It's a problem. We've put it off for a long time, and we have a third of a piece of ground there that is gone to cattails in 6 years. We can't, what eats cattails? Critters don't. So there is no market, and it's there because water has sat there too long and not had a place to go. So I think we truly respect your position. We're frustrated as well. We are trying to help the process, and I just feel like every step we've hit in the last 6 years is like, shush. We can't just shush. This is not something that happens on a 10-year occurrence, a 5-year occurrence. This is every flippin' day we deal with this, and it's getting worse.
What is your remedy? I mean, what
I think there's probably 2 choices. We either fix the dike and put the water, put the river back in the original place, because obviously it had to be a man-made dike, or you put another 3 to 6 culverts on 217th Street, because that seems to be the road. The other thing that I want to bring up in that respect is because of, and I'm not blaming this group or the committee, but because of the condition of the bridges and the timing of their necessary repair, us personally, we have no way to get out. We have 4 bridges that are out. We have to go down to the Ward exit. We live north of Lake Campbell. We have to go down to the Ward exit to get over to Aurora, or we have to go around through Volga and the bypass. Not efficient, can be done. In sitting watching traffic, we have people using that road, using that bridge, that at some point, if it's not restricted more, I mean, they're gonna abuse it to the point we can't use it. And then what are we gonna do, is my thing. What's the backup plan?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have other comments? I just want to show you this. This is our ground yellow. The red, our bridges are closed. There's no way we can deliver our product at Harvest. You understand this better than some, but we have to go all the way. I know we're only one, but there's several in our area that have the same issue.
the bridges have weight restrictions on them, not closed. And we are working diligently to try to get bridges fixed.
Understand. I'm just concerned that it's not enough of a priority with as fast as we're aging. What are there other possibilities, other ways that we can attend to the matter? And for us landowners that live in that specific area, I'm talking of 217th, that's become a major road, which the township wanted to consider minimum maintenance. Honestly, the road needs to be built up. I'm also a member of the township board, but I'm simply the treasurer. I'm not a supervisor, so I really don't have any weight there, except to track the money. But that road needs some attention in TLC. And I understand a Band-Aid works for a hot second, but it's gonna need more than that. We have some real issues with the water and if the old channel is considered the Big Sioux River, like on all the maps, then push that dike back in and let's get it dealt with. If the new river, because it's a meandering river, is where it's gonna go, then we got some bridges and culverts to put in. And that's gonna take all of us, landowners, township, county, state. So we're asking for your help. And if there's more information and questions that we can answer, information I can get to you, we'd be more than happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Yolanda. Tom, are you here? No. Would you like to address?
Yeah, this has gotten to be
Tom, could you
more.
just state your name on the?
Okay, Tom Stenberg. Yeah, everything Lana and I, we've talked a lot about this. This has gotten to be more of an issue. These culverts were put in, these 3 culverts I'm talking about, they were put in 30, 35 years ago. And the neighbors had stated that they were set way too high. They will not handle the capacity that them culverts are capable, and there's only 3 of them. The tail cap land, that's been, the water table has artificially been raised about 2.5 to 3 feet. And also Hexham's land just to the east of there. And the cattails are winning a little bit more every year, and we pay property tax on that land. We would really like something done. The county also, they can't, this summer there was a lot of county gravel trucks going through that road because they could not go on the river bridge. They've downgraded that bridge now, so farmers can't even drive an empty truck across there legally.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that this is going to be, the problem is going to be the insurance companies, our liability insurance farming, they're not going to like that. You know, if one of the trucks go through that river bridge, I'm sure it'll fall on the farmer's liability insurance. So what they're doing is they're coming down that gravel road just to the east of myself. So it's just a big problem just waiting to happen. Now, we also got the noticing 2 miles north. Okay, there's a road, there's that old iron bridge, and there's 12 huge culverts there. And 6 of them, there is no water. And so what we're kind of wondering is if there is a money shortage, there's culverts there that are doing nothing. So these are issues that we're dealing with. So
Okay.
that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Next would be Terry Pritchard.
Terry Pritchard, Trenton Township. Deja vu. My comments are going to go back to follow what George Scon, his topic. On the agenda, you will have at 9:30 a representative from the South Dakota Department of Agriculture. And this individual has presented the same documents that he will give you today to the County Zoning Board of Adjustment at their last meeting. I would like to make a few comments. First of all, along with George, what I brought with me today and I will leave with you, and it's easily looked up online, but I went ahead and copied the ordinances that were redone by Grant County. And they have some very good updates. They looked at setbacks, they made them stronger, doubled, because Grant County is also seeing an influx very heavily of CAFOs. And there are other things, but this is something I will leave with you today, just might be helpful when you're looking at this. I agree with George, setbacks are antiquated. They're for much smaller units that were coming in. We've never seen anything this size before come into Brookings County. And you can, apparently there are tours being given into Minnesota, which is the corporation that would like to move into Trenton Township. And I can't swear this is true, but Department of Ag is also participating in these tours and taking people over. Our tax dollars are going over to Minnesota for a private company to show individuals what that particular dairy looks like, when there are many in South Dakota that could be looked at as examples, and this company has also. I think that's a bad choice for tax dollars. There will also be a presentation where Mr. Stout will do comparisons on different counties, Brookings County versus Sioux County, Iowa, versus another county I can't pronounce, Candiyohi in Minnesota.
Candy Ojai.
There you go. I'm not a Minnesotan. I don't know how to pronounce that. But it's comparing apples to oranges when you get a chance to analyze the data. You can use data however you would like to use data. We all know that. Sioux County, Iowa's numbers are much higher in livestock production. Those productions are family-owned, meaning farmer feeders, where the kids are on the farm, the moms and dads are on the farm, and their numbers are much higher because these are true family-owned farms, like it used to be. It's going to show 1960 numbers of livestock versus today, and how much higher we were in the 1960s with livestock. Well, there's a couple of reasons there. Everybody had them. Everybody. When I used to, for my job, check on livestock imported, I stopped at every farm almost in 4 counties to check on livestock. That's not the case anymore. They're just getting bigger and fewer. And the production on dairy cows has gotten, okay, we went up 311% on annual production of cows, of what they can milk. You don't need as many. What are you going to do with 281,000 in 1960? We can't use that much produce. So anyway, that was the basic. There's also, I don't know how much I have left. The individuals that will be employed in this industry will come in on what they call TN visas out of Mexico, which was already stated to me. This is what will be. In the shadow of SDSU graduates not being used in dairy science. TN visas came out of the NAFTA contract, and they're trade nationals. You can very easily get them, people from Mexico and people from Canada. And they can get the visa very easily. They will be stated they'll have masters and PhDs that will be working, milking. And that is through this, they pretty much have to have that to qualify as a professional to come in from the other countries. And displacing our SDSU graduates that aren't even potentially offered a position. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you very much for listening, and I will
Leave that with
this up here.
Stacy. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Roy Samrick. Would you please come forward?
Royce Emmerich from Brookings and Trenton Township. I'd like to think of my presentation not as a prelude, but as an addendum to two presentations that are on the agenda this morning. I heard previously at the Board of Adjustment meeting touting the need for more livestock in Brookings County. The other presentation I look forward to. To understand where I'm coming from, I feel you need to know a little bit about my background. I started milking cows as soon as I was able to balance on a milking stool. But progression through active participation in 4-H livestock programs to earning 3 degrees in animal science and biochemistry, I settled in Brookings for a career in ag experiment station research. At one time or another during my 39-year tenure at SDSU, I did cooperative research with almost every member of the animal science department involving all classes of livestock, that is cattle, sheep, swine, and poultry. My wife and I built our house in an alfalfa field east of Hillcrest School. On the 4th of July, our first 4th of July in the house, we sat in our living room and watched the city fireworks display in the field behind our house. At that time, there was no development east of there, and there was no impediment to development other than the old Ed Telkamp barn that is now the site of Walmart. What a difference 50 to 60 years make. In that period of time, extracurricular activities have kept me personally involved in various aspects of livestock and crop production in Brookings County. During this time, we've seen a shift from livestock production being a part of farming to becoming large industrial, often corporate-owned, concentrated animal feeding operations, popularly known by the acronym of CAFOs. We've had these industrial-sized CAFOs being promoted by the South Dakota Department of Agriculture as agricultural activities, when in fact they have very little to do with agriculture. They are industrial livestock facilities involving thousands of animals concentrated in small areas. These larger dairy producers, representing 74% of milk production, participated in efforts to reduce competition through complete herd buyouts sponsored by the National Milk Producers Federation, also known as Cooperatives Working Together, or CWT. Their purpose was to reduce the number of cows and reduce competition. A class action lawsuit, antitrust lawsuit, against CWT was settled last year for $54 million. This was going on at the same time that the South Dakota Department of Ag, through the terms of 3 state administrations, was strongly promoting development of dairy CAFOs along the I-29 corridor, even advertising in California and other countries for dairies to relocate here. Certainly numbers of livestock in Brookings County are lower than some, but there's a reason for it. Brookings County and its incorporated cities have been very successful in attracting and hosting clean industries, among them Volga soybean plant, the Aurora ethanol plant, Bell Cheese, Larson's, Daktronics, Twin City Fan, etc., to name a few. But the greatest asset of all is SDSU, with its base of professionals serving as an incentive to attract these clean industries and their numerous ancillary businesses. These are clean industries employing thousands of our own U.S. citizens, earning decent wages and supporting families that contribute to the economic growth and stability of our county. Al Houghton and his staff at the Brookings Economic Development Corporation have undoubtedly played an important role in achieving much of this. So I ask, Why be concerned that some other counties may have greater numbers of livestock? We can do so much better in other ways, and we have done better. Industrial-sized CAFOs are especially unacceptable in closely populated areas. Trenton Township is a current example of where a proud neighborhood is threatened with a proposed dairy consisting of 9,500 cows that calculates to over 13,000 animal units, with all of its inherent problems and concerns. Brookings County currently enjoys low unemployment. According to information provided by the Trenton Dairy Promoter, they necessarily use imported workers, reportedly working long hours at low wages. With the SDSU base and the talented workforce that it attracts, we can do better, we have done better, and with foresight and planning, we can continue to do better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Royce. I'd like to thank all the citizens that came forward. Later in our meeting, we'll be addressing some of these issues if you'd like to stay and listen. Moving on, approval of agenda. We do. Approval of agenda is read. Consent agenda items. We have approval of minutes, approval of travel and education requests, approval of personal action notices, and approval of human services report. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Moving on to routine business, we have a scheduled 9 o'clock. Scheduled item number 7A, 9 a.m. Al Heaton, Executive Director of Brookings Economic Development Corporation. Al, would you report?
Morning.
I'm Al Houghton, Executive Director of Brookings Economic Development Corporation, and here today to talk about your continued membership in BEDC and at that time of year again. I'd like to thank the county for its participation in the 12 years I've been here, and I think prior to that, the county's been a strong partner in our economic development efforts within the county, so we do appreciate your financial support and hope that that would continue. Want to point out that the amount that we're requesting has not changed in that 12 years, so I think we've been attempted to be pretty good stewards of public dollars anyway, and have really tried to expand our funding base through state and federal grants and private dollars in the course of being able to expand the services that we provide. Sounds like you have a busy agenda today, so I'm going to be fairly brief, but I did provide a handout that just covers, the key services that we provide. And of course, as an economic development corporation, growing the economy is our primary mission. We hope to do that in a sustainable way, and one that increases wealth creation in the community and the county. That has been our focus, and I think will continue to be our focus. The handout that I gave you shows 4 different areas where we concentrate a lot of our activity. Again, business development is the primary reason why BEDC exists. Our priorities in the past, and I think going on in the future, will continue to be to grow what we have. We've got very good industrial and business sectors in the county. We want to see those grow and succeed as a high priority. Second on our list of priorities is entrepreneurship development, and again, that comes back to the surveys that we have done within the community and the county, and trying to find out how people want to grow, and that desire is to grow from within as much as possible. So we have expanded our entrepreneurship programs in the last 2 years, in part with the state grant and with Vision Brookings monies to hire a full-time director of entrepreneurship support. That's Jennifer Quayle. Lots of activity, in that space with the facilities that we built in the community over time, with the research park, our technology commercialization center that houses Prairie Aquatech, things like shared science equipment. And then more recently, a lot of Jennifer's focus is really on building the pipeline of entrepreneurs that we need to succeed in the future. There's an event coming up, be this coming Saturday, Kidpreneur Market, pop-up market. If you haven't heard about that, that will take place at the Armory. Was originally going to be in a different building downtown. We thought maybe we'd have 5 or 6 kids show up. We've got 30 right now, and it's continuing to grow. So that's great. A lot of young people with good ideas and that are going to be come down and displaying and selling the things that they're doing. So another thing that's coming up this year in the fall will be kind of a youth entrepreneurship program that we're working with Barb Heller with the entrepreneurship department at SDSU and Boys and Girls Club. This will be for 4th and 5th graders. So we've been developing a curriculum that will be used to deliver that as an after-school program starting this fall at the Boys and Girls Club. So lots of different things going on there. I won't try to go into all that. On the kind of a third leg of our business development program is business recruitment and attraction. We've been somewhat silent on that just because we always seem to have shortages of labor and housing and things like that. So we have spent quite a bit of time on housing discussions in the past and affordable housing studies, lots of time on workforce related things. But now that my time is beginning to free up a little bit more for the first time in many years, I'm going to get back into that recruitment mode. So we have been studying SDSU graduates, the degrees that they end up with when they graduate, what types of occupations hire those degrees, and then circling back to the industries that hire, a predominance of those occupations. So that's a study that I'd say we're probably about 60% of the way done. We've identified the industry groups that we want to look at, and now starting to dig into who those companies are that we could potentially recruit to hire more of our SDSU graduates when they complete their education here. On the workforce development side, again, with state grant dollars and Vision Brookings money, we've been able to hire a full-time workforce development director. That's Stacy Aesop. A lot of the work that we've been doing at this point have been out meeting with industries to find out what their current and projected needs are, doing some social media marketing in different locations, just trying to get the word out about Brookings, redeveloping our website for workforce development and recruitment, which is liveinbrookings.com. So a lot of the activity there is going to be related around marketing, but one thing that we will be starting here pretty soon is a Brookings Area Workforce Alliance. It's going to include people from Brookings County and neighboring counties eventually. Good cross-section from education, industry, civic organizations, and government to look at our long-term labor situation and how we will take advantage of the people that we have and what we're going to have to do in terms of recruiting people to keep our industries healthy. So I think maybe with that, I'll just stop. I know that all of you are fairly familiar with what we do. Many of you have served on our board for a number of years, so I'll just open it up for questions or comments.
Questions? Leanne, you still there? I guess. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know.
Well, let me know if you have any questions down the road. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Al.
Leanne, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay, we have a schedule 9:30. We can go back to approval of claims.
Move to approve.
Need a motion and a second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter B, department head reports. I guess community health, are they here?
Good morning. My name's Karen Larson. I'm the nurse, one of the nurses at the Community Health Office. Not going to read word for word on our report, but haven't had a lot of big changes. Quarterly wise, April, our numbers always seem to go down a little bit. You'll see that in comparison to June. One thing we do have coming up this fall is our WIC program is going to be changing to what we call e-WIC, and it's going to be more of a credit card. I think we've talked about this in the past, so it's finally happening. It's doing a rollout session, and we're one of the last regions to roll out with that. So that will happen this fall. It'll be very streamlined, very easy for our clients to use the benefits versus the paper checks that they're using now. As far as immunizations, not a lot has changed through that. We stopped, of course, offering the flu shot at the end of June, and that's based off of CDC. As far as our school services, not a lot of changes with that either. We've been in contact with all of our schools, and everybody's still on board to do services again this year, so we'll be out in the community doing that. Continuing offering our baby care programs, prenatal education, our infant mortality education. Staffing wise, we did have a change in one of our home-based dietitians. She now resides in our office. So all of our offices are currently maxed out in our little area there or in the building. We're all up to date as far as staffing training goes and continuing education. And then we actually just returned from an all-staff nursing conference in Pierre. We were out there for 3 days. Our county clericals came with us out there for 3 days. We were unavailable for services here, but a lot of good education, a lot of good teamwork and building and kind of thinking about the future. A lot of good things happened out there. So other than that, we're just keeping on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Misty, would you like to go? Okay. Richard?
Good morning. Mr. Hill is on his way back from the NACO conference this morning. Had an eventful July meeting. We spent a half hour in the storm shelter that night of our zoning meeting because of the severe weather here, the tornado warning that night. So we moved everybody down to the storm shelter for a half hour. Then the all clear came and came back up and continued our meeting. Continued to work on the updates and everything on the ordinance. We have a fairly light agenda on the August meeting. We have 6 items on there, and the plat later on today is shouldn't be any questions on there, just a plat up to the Lake Hendrick. So, and Mr. Hill is gone, and Raylin is also gone to Mitchell for training, so I'm the lone ranger in the office. So,
Do you know where the group is at working on the ordinances for the confinement operation setbacks?
right, it's been through the subcommittee. It's waiting to review through the state attorney's office. As soon as I get it updated, then we'll present it to have a public hearing on it, present it to the full commission and the board.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mike?
Real quickly, we did have a meeting on the 20th down in Sioux Falls, and we've been looking a little bit more at some of the changes in as far as the way the welfare has been paying on the medical, and also got some inquiries in dealing with the funeral costs. Those are the main 2 things on the welfare side. We've been really quite busy on the veteran side. In the last 2 weeks, we did have 32 veterans stopping in for different benefits and things, seeing an increase in certain cancers that are not presumptive yet, but I foresee them being more presumptive in the future as far as Vietnam veterans. Otherwise, we did have 108 calls come in the last 2 weeks, made 90 calls out. Like I say, 32 veterans did stop in, and we had 18 on the welfare side, so that's about all that's been happening.
Okay.
Is one of those cancers colorectal?
No, not colorectal. What I've been seeing is glioblastoma,
Okay.
which is a brain cancer that's very deadly. It's actually the same thing that John McCain has.
Yeah. Okay. Vicki?
Good morning.
Morning.
Just for your information, the sheriff's office sold one mobile home on July 20th for non-payment of taxes, and the mobile home was sold for $1,606, and that covered all of the property taxes and the transfer fee, so we are all back to zero on that. And the county last week took tax deed to two properties. One is in White, gas station, an old gas station, and also an empty lot in Bruce. So we do have to keep those 180 days, and then they will go up for public auction. And we are in the process between Highway and Commissioner Jensen is going to look into getting different locks on the gas stations, so we are covered for liability, and we have added it onto our insurance. And another thing I just want you to be aware of is last week I talked to Tom Grimmond from Doherty and Company, and with the detention center, with the passing of the resolution, we can levy next year for the 2017 payable and 18 even before we purchase the bonds for the project. So that is something that we will have to know by October 1st if that is something you want to do to put the levy out, so we would have money set aside if we go to purchase the bonds. If we purchase the bonds before July of next year, we would have an interest payment due. And it would be approximately $200,000, give or take, when we would be doing that. So we will have to look into that if you want to levy for next year. And in talking to Mr. Grimmond, he said if we levied and we didn't need as much money, we could always put the levy down next year too if we had an abundance of money. So that is something we'll have to be deciding. So just to give you a heads up on that.
When was the interest rate change?
We would have to see what the interest rate was. I checked when Tom Grimmond did the analysis, he had it at 2.91%. And when I did check with a couple of the banks, it's probably at 3.2 now, give or take, but the interest rate was climbing up on those. So just to let you know that too. And in your packet, you received the finance officer's report, and there's 4 be it noted items for the minutes: the auditor's account with the treasurer, the payroll and additives total, the highway expenditure report, and the register of deeds statement of fees collected. And also there's 2 action items for the quarterly transfers and the emergency management transfers that we do need to have an action item, a motion to approve that, if you want to go ahead and do that.
Move approval.
Second.
Need a motion and a second. Oh, call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And also in your packet was the general fund surplus analysis, which was at 42.22% this month. So it's a little bit up from previous years. And I think Stacy has that maybe in her report, the different years. So just to kind of give you a heads up there, we're doing good with that. So any other questions on anything?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marty?
Morning.
Morning.
I'll try to be brief. Just to give you a little statistics in the jail, up to July, You know, we started out pretty strong in January and February with 49 daily average in January to 46 in February. Then it started dropping down 38, 39. As of July, our daily average is 36.6, which is a manageable amount of inmates. And we can do some cleaning and doing some of those. I think you never know where the trend's going to be. Those first months is when our drug task force was and we got some drug distributors off the streets, and they've been sent to they've been found guilty and sent to the penitentiary and so forth. And so that now our drug arrests have come down, but we're seeing some domestic assaults, aggravated assaults, those types of things seem to be creeping up on us a little bit too. So you never know where the trend's going to be. One month it's this, and it's another month it's that. So another thing that July 1st, the South Dakota legislature passed a law for mugshots, that the sheriff's office can release mugshots on felonies even before they went to court, just upon arrest. And they can request them 6 months back. So if somebody comes into my office and wants a mugshot of a felon 6 months ago, by law, I have to give that, but we can charge them for that. Most sheriffs are charging $8 for mugshots, just for our handling service. What happens is we try to keep away from giving free mugshots out, because when you go on the website and you go on and look for people that have been arrested other way, that's what they look for is getting the free mugshots, and then they charge somebody for it. So that's why we decided, that's one of the reasons, and then just for handling and those. So far, nobody's requested a mugshot of anyone. Our local media, we'll give them maybe a freebie. Anyway, so that just a little bit on the mugshots. Also on our website now, we have our daily inmate population on the website and what their charges are. It's updated every 15 minutes. It also has photos of inmate or prisoners that are felons that we're looking for. In other words, we have active warrants for. We put them on the website, but you can go to the county website, that I'll link to the sheriff's website. And again, that will, it updates every 15 minutes. So if somebody is arrested and they're released, it'll show them being arrested, and then it will show them also being released. So SDSU, we have a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock. The state's attorney's office, myself. I'm not sure if Commissioner Jensen can come.
Would anybody be available? 2 o'clock tomorrow. I can't.
That'd be at the University Police Department. If not,
Mike will.
If not, that's fine.
Mike will.
Yeah, at SDSU Police Department. What they're doing is that SDSU Police Department wants to become their own police department. They have legislation drawn up to be what they call themselves institutional police officers. They're looking for the city police and myself to go into a mutual aid agreement with them. And tomorrow will be an informational meeting because the commission has to sign off on that along with myself. Right now, it's a 12-page mutual aid agreement, and so far I don't really agree with everything on the mutual aid. So it's going to be an informational thing. And Commissioner Krogman, you're coming, you said? Oh,
Mike is.
Okay. It's an
believe-
informational. They're SDSU attorney.
Did you all get the handout? Oh, could we get handout?
I can send you some stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. SDSU attorney. Their attorney will be there. Tracy Green, I believe she's the one that has drawn up the legislation and also the mutual aid agreement and stuff. So tomorrow's an informational, why they want this. So it'll be an informational meeting. Also, I was contacted by the Aurora Mayor, Fred Weeks. Aurora is growing. And with growing, they got growing pains. increased traffic. Of course, with the, I'm hoping with 6th Street opens up that they'll get a little less traffic coming in on gravel roads, but on what comes in on Redmond Street there, lots of complaints of speeding coming in that way. But with the growth, right now they contract with the sheriff's office for 10 hours a week, which is 40 a month. They're looking at maybe up in that 10 or 20 hours, so I've sent them some prices for that. And again, my office will be able to handle that, but that's putting us pretty thin. When you get increased contract hours, that means we have to spend more time in that town and less time out on county roads also. So, but also the contract towns pay the county $183,000 for my office to patrol them. So that helps subsidize my budget also. And so, again, with those growing pains, you have other things going on. Also, I think when, if you recall, there was 3 officers that came in here a few weeks ago and talked about National Night Out. I think at that time they said it was going to be August 15th, but they have switched that to the 1st. That is actually where everyone in the United States has when we say National Night Out, the 1st is actually the date, and they have changed that from the 15th back to the 1st, which goes along with the National Night Out. And what that is that local law enforcement departments, University Police, my office, Brookings Police, Game Fish and Parks, Highway Patrol will all be down at Pioneer Park. We'll display equipment. We'll have booths. It's just get familiar with the departments and what we do, and it's a neighborhood. So we hope we have some good attendance for that. But it's just a way to get out and talk to local law enforcement.
Marty, you said that was at Pioneer Park?
Pioneer Park,
so that's
yeah.
a change also.
Yep. Pioneer Park. Originally it was going to be on the courthouse grounds, but they've changed it to Pioneer Park, and it's from 6 to 9 on the 1st, August 1st. We still, at the present time, we have 36 inmates in jail. We have 111 on the 24/7 program. I have 22 individuals that come in twice a day, so that's to blow. I have 43 that come in for urinalysis once a week. I have 27 individuals on ankle bracelets for the scram, for the alcohol. And I have 5 or 6 on the GPS that are on home arrest. Again, with those 111 on 24/7, that keeps the jail population down, and that program is still pays for itself with the fees that go for the individual to be on that program. So, if you have any questions, so much for brief, huh? Thank you.
Marty, can I just ask you how many sheriff's cars do we have?
I have 7 patrol officers, so there's 7 marked cars. Well, actually, there's 8 marked cars. There's 7, and then I have 1 part-time car that I take out of the fleet which has about 159,000 miles on it. What I try to do is keep 1 back for either transport or for the part-time. And so we have, but I also have a couple. The detectives have cars, and those are unmarked.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a scheduled 9:30, letter B on our agenda. South Dakota Department of Agricultural presentation by Ben Stout, Ag Development Representative.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Ben Stout, South Dakota Department of Ag. I'm actually a Brookings County resident, just bought a house in town, so I'm looking forward to becoming a more permanent part of the community. I understand that my handout was included in your packet. I do have a couple spares here for anyone in the audience who would like one. This is basically the same information that I gave to the Planning and Zoning meeting a couple of weeks ago. I did make a couple of tweaks for the commission, but the bulk of the information is the same. So what I would like to do today, I would basically like to talk about livestock development opportunities, and I'm not going to speak on behalf or against any particular project that's proposed or might be proposed. I'm simply going to give you some facts related to these types of things. This is something that I do for work. I've been in front of economic development folks from roughly 25 different counties in the state in the last 2 years since I've been doing this job. I've given this a similar presentation in front of probably half a dozen, 8, 10 counties, I suppose, with information specific to those counties. So this is based on some industry trends too. I go to a number of national trade shows, international trade shows as well. So I've seen some of the latest things that are happening in the ag industry, and I just wanted to share some of those things with you all. So something that we know but we don't always think about, Brookings County in South Dakota, it's really a unique county. 70% of our counties have been losing population consistently for the last 80 years, 70% of the counties in South Dakota. Obviously, Brookings isn't in that boat. Brookings is growing. In 1930, Brookings County had 16,847 residents. The most recent estimate from 2015, 33,897. I'm sure you all probably have a more updated number than that, but the point is we're growing. As a result of this, there are a lot of other counties that look at Brookings as kind of the leader in the state. We have a lot of really good things going on here, and that's really the goal. I want to make sure you all have the most updated information about these livestock projects so we can continue to grow, we can continue to thrive, and we can continue to lead South Dakota. So part of what I did, because we're such a unique county, I thought it would be beneficial to compare us to a couple counties in our neighboring states and basically a peer comparison. So I looked at Brookings compared to Sioux County, Iowa, and Kandiyohi County, Minnesota. The reason why I did this, the counties are similar in land size, population, all Midwestern communities, so culture is similar as well. There's consistent population growth in all these counties. There's significant industry presence in all these counties, and there's also a significant livestock presence and opportunity for further development in the livestock side of things in all these counties. Sioux County is kind of thought of in the ag world as sort of the livestock headquarters of the United States. There's basically more livestock in Sioux County than almost any other county in the United States. Kandiyohi County is, Wilmar would be the main city there, headquarters of Jennie-O Turkey, pretty big deal. I'm sure you all are familiar with that brand. So I'll just walk you through some of the things on this chart. You can see total land area is pretty close to the same. One of the questions that I got in the planning and zoning meeting, and I didn't do a very good job of explaining this at that meeting, but part of the reason why I picked these counties also, you look at the water area. Now you all are familiar with, obviously we have aquifer all over the place in Brookings County, but you look at Kandiyohi County and they have 66 square miles of water and lakes, so, but they still have a lot of livestock there, so it's not uncommon to have livestock close to water. Population is similar. You can see I included some corn for grain, soybean statistics there. These other counties have more production, but they also have more livestock, so they're using more there as well. As a rule of thumb, South Dakota is a major net exporter of our grain. Some of the estimates that I've heard, we send out roughly 40% of the corn that we use, 70% of the soybean that we grow, rather, for use in other states. Actually, I do have some statistics that show that in our neighboring counties and the counties that border South Dakota on the Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska side use roughly 3 to 5 times as much corn for grain as we do in South Dakota. So what does that mean? Basically, that's an opportunity for farmers to keep some of the money in the local community and keep some of that recirculating. Walking through some of the livestock numbers on that first page again. Yep, thank you. You can see these estimates are based on either data from the 2012 USDA Ag Census. That's the most recent data that's available. They're doing another Ag Census this year, so I'm looking forward to having up-to-date information. You can see that in Brookings County, there are 15,000 dairy cows, Sioux County, 35,000. Just kind of going on down the line, Sioux County has a lot more of everything than we do. When you get to that poultry line, you'll notice that I have a couple of asterisks there. This is also a comment that I received after my presentation at the Planning and Zoning meeting. The reason why I didn't include poultry there is because the USDA actually didn't report that data. That doesn't mean that in Brookings County we have no poultry. It just means that there are only a few operations, and to avoid disclosing basically personal information, the USDA doesn't report that data if there are only a handful of operations. There needs to be a certain amount before they report it. There are actually more pigs in Sioux County, Iowa than there are in the entire state of South Dakota. So think about that. That's a county that's the size of Brookings, similar population, similar land base, but there are more pigs in that county than there are in the entire state of South Dakota. So when I'm working on these projects, I think kind of the perception is we don't have room for growth, but the stats show and the data shows that there are a lot of other places that that have grown more than we have, and we still have some opportunity here. Some of the important stuff in the green would be that the final 4 rows there. When you have a lot of livestock in the area, that gives farmers an opportunity to have smaller operations, more diversified. And you can see that the average farm size in both Sioux County and Kandiyohi County is significantly smaller than Brookings. You can see that we all have a lot of crop sales, but when it gets to livestock sales, that's a heck of a lot of money turning over in the community and in those other places that we're not seeing here. And like I said, it's important to keep in mind that Brookings is a leader in South Dakota, but we still have room for growth, is the point that I want to make. People say that corn is king in Iowa, but if you go to Sioux County, they have 4 times as much cash receipts for livestock sales as they do corn. So that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. So I'll move on to the next page, be page 2. This is a chart that shows some of the record high livestock numbers and some of the current numbers. Again, this is based off of 2012 data. I'm looking forward to updating this. There will be some changes, but it's going to be similar to what is shown here. You can see on the chart and in the, I guess the chart below as well, that shows the numbers. We have a lot less livestock in the state in general than we did 30, 40 plus years ago. 5 million cows was the record high. Beef cows in 1974, we have 3.8 million today. That doesn't include dairy cows, and that's not included on this chart, but there were actually 675,000 dairy cows in South Dakota in 1934. Today we have roughly 115,000. So if you think about what was going on in the ag world in 1934, there's been a lot of changes since then. That was really the start of the environmental movement, and we needed to start thinking about what we were doing and how we were doing things. Actually, the average corn yield in Brookings County in 1934 was 6 bushels an acre during the Dust Bowl. So things have changed since then, fortunately, but we still could support 675,000 dairy cows then, and we have a sixth of that now. And again, you can look through some of this information on your own. I don't need to spend too much time on it. It's self-explanatory. There were a lot more livestock in the state in the past than there are now. So again, this is all the information that I'm presenting to you today. That's stuff that anyone can find either through the USDA, South Dakota Department of Ag. You can go to the library and find some of this information. It's all public information. Move on to page 3. I'm happy that Al was here this morning to kind of get us talking about economics a little bit. Here's some economic impact information for the different livestock sectors. There are several different universities that have analyzed the dairy industry. 2 of the more popular studies that are referenced are from the University of Wisconsin and the Minnesota Department of Ag. You can see the numbers there, $25,000 a cow and $34,000 per cow per year. Most of that money is spent within a local, 50-mile radius. Tremendous economic benefits from the dairy industry. But it's not just dairy. The multiplier for the beef industry, as shown by an SDSU study from just up the road, the multiplier for beef industry is 1.95, so for every dollar that the beef industry spends, an additional 95 cents of revenue is generated. Swine, $2,500 per sow per year. There's recently a large swine facility constructed in Brookings County, so that's going to be money that's continued to be turned over in the county year after year. You hear a lot of things about property values. The University of Missouri had some researchers get together and conduct a literature review, and this is one of the more popular, more cited literature reviews that I could find. It analyzed 14 published reports on the impact of animal feeding operations, or CAFOs as we call them in South Dakota. 7 of those studies found that property values declined, 6 stated that they could either increase or decrease, and 1 stated that there was no impact on property values. So it really can go either way, and that's another point that I wanted to make. You can find good and bad examples of everything. And then some other information. People like to talk about economics a lot, but there's a lot more that goes into these livestock projects than just economics. I was actually just in Sioux County yesterday, and there's some really beautiful areas in that county. There are 99 counties in Iowa, and Sioux County is consistently ranked among the healthiest counties in Iowa. Last year, they were the healthiest. In the study that measured that, you can see I included the link for that below, so if you want to look at that on your own. Measures a number of different health factors, 3,000 counties in all 50 U.S. states, and there's a lot of data that goes into figuring out which counties are the healthiest. But Sioux County is consistently at the top. So, Kandiyohi County, 60% of adults have attended college. Many employees are bilingual. And then also, just a quick note on that letter from the commissioner from the Environmental Protection Commission in Sioux County. Sioux County consistently ranks among the top 5 counties in Iowa in health outcomes, lowest unemployment, youngest average age of farmers, and greatest population growth of all rural counties. If we want to continue to give young people a chance to farm, to see our schools, churches, and main streets grow while helping our soil become healthier, we need livestock. And that was a quote from about a month ago in a newspaper article, also cited below. So this is a lot of information. I'm happy to talk more about this or answer questions if you guys have any. I'm located here in Brookings. I know my contact information is included at the top of these sheets. And also I know my business card was included in the packet. I'm happy to talk to anyone about these things. But what does this mean and why did I come here today? Really, South Dakota doesn't realize what we're capable of. And a perfect example of this, coming close to home, a little over 3-4 weeks ago, in mid-June, we had $250 million worth of ag projects either announced or celebrated with a grand opening in 1 week's time. And when I'm talking about that, I'm referring to the Novita groundbreaking just down the road here in Brookings. Valley Queen announced that they're going to add on $50 million expansion, which is going to drive more growth in the dairy industry in the region. And then a project that I worked on with the Department of Ag, Hybrid Turkeys, announced that they're going to build a hatchery in Beersford. That's going to be a $25 million investment, but they're also going to add some laying barns to feed eggs to this hatchery, basically. And those laying barns are each a $10 million investment. So it's going to be roughly a $60-70 million investment from this company. What does this mean? $250 million worth of investment, roughly 200 full-time jobs. These are things that are helping small towns in South Dakota grow. And I know we don't always think of Brookings as being a small town, but there are some small towns in our county. So it's important to keep that in mind. So why are we not seeing more development? Honestly, attitude plays a factor. South Dakota has a reputation as being tough to get a permit, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world because we have some really good projects here and we do our due diligence, and it's important that we have the right things come here. And I know that our decision makers know that. But we also have to remember that there's not going to be any perfect projects coming to the table. There's going to be things that people don't like, regardless of what it is. So, yeah, the Main thing that I wanted to say is we have a lot of opportunity. We need to continue to keep our doors open for growth. And I also wanted to present some facts that hopefully help you stay well informed on these things so Brookings can continue to be a leader in South Dakota and the region. So with that, I'd take any questions.
Commission?
And if you don't have any, that's fine too.
Good job. Thank you. Lost my spot. Dick, would you forward?
Good morning. First, some real good news we got yesterday. We received in the mail our permit, environmental permit from the Corps of Engineers for our Structure 238, which is what we're pushing through to hopefully get a grant to match our grant for Structure 239 on South 77. With that happening, that's really the last hurdle as far as we will have to jump through to have that project bid ready. As you know, the DOT used to call them shovel ready. Now the term is bid ready, and that'll be a big plus for us come this January. August 15th is when our preliminary engineering grants are due, and I'm not going to dwell on those because we'll do that later in the 5-year plan. Another thing I've been busy with is collecting traffic counts, which is a very important bit of data that we include in the engineering part of our grant applications. It'll add to our ability to gain points. And so therefore, for our bridge on 238, the bridge north of Bushnell on 25, and also the bridge on 27 up by Basin Electric, those traffic counts came in very positive, and that means that we can substitute our numbers for the numbers that the DOT uses, and so it should be a real positive for that. We'll also be going out for bids on our dump body, plow, sander, and whatever that will be used on the, if you approve the item further down the agenda to buy off Beetle County bid. So that's complete and advertised and everything. The bridge north of Bruce plus quarter mile north of that, the box that's replacing a smaller structure is coming along better. They've got a lot of the dirt work completed, and hopefully Bose will be there to start some paving either at the end of this week or the beginning of next week. So that's the best I can report on that. Next week, we'll be starting chip sealing down in Moody County as part of our joint projects that we do annually with them. Our chip sealing won't start till later in August. Been working, if you've seen out on the shoulders on Highway 5, the Highway 5 overlay project is done. We're using our road widening attachment for a skid loader that we purchased, and it's working very, very well. So that's pretty much going to be complete this week, hopefully, weather permitting. Speed limit signs in Aurora have been kind of mystified and challenged everybody, but I think we've got that under control now. Holloway Construction plans on starting our box culvert projects for our small structures in the next 2 weeks. All easements are complete, the utilities have been relocated, and the permits are in place, so hopefully that will come about. And also remember that part of that project, Holloway Construction, will be repairing the ends on the river bridge south and west of Bruce. And the parts have all been ordered. We have some on hand. And once I find out what the status is on the others, but they should be done by the time Holloway shows up. And that will be a big plus on that river project because instead of like a $2.6 million replacement bridge, hopefully we just bought ourselves another 10 to 15, if not 20 plus years for a little over $140,000. We estimated at $120,000, and I think it might come in under that, but just to be safe in case some unforeseen thing comes up in the repair process. Then also, we have people here, and I think they'll be probably mentioning later when we talk about the 5-year plan, but receiving comments from people in Madera Township about the bridge situation. I try best as I can to explain to them that we're moving, but it's a slow process. And then also with the 5-year plan being talked about later, if there are people here, could we please get them to sign a roster thing so that we can send that with our grant application? That's very important, and it's critical. Also, the commission cannot be signing the roster, so
Okay.
that does it unless you have some questions.
Dick, on the speed limit in Aurora, does the city of Aurora, will they do the public hearing to set the speed zone, or is that, being it's our road, who will do the establishing the speed?
I believe when they were here the other time, they asked us to change that for them, and so that's what we did.
Okay.
And it won't be effective until the reading and or
Correct.
publishing and all that stuff is done.
Okay, so that's something Terry will have to handle then. Okay.
Yeah, she's already on it.
Okay.
She's way ahead of us.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry.
No, that's the only question I had. Thank you. Moving on to regular business. Letter A, action to approve resolution number 17-29, a resolution placing taxes on an uncollectible list. For a motion.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions?
These are just 2 mobile homes that were either destroyed or burned down, so they're no longer there. So those are the 2 that are put on the uncollectible list.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter B, action to approve resolution number 17-30, plat of lots 4 and 10 of Dakota Shores, second subdivision, all being located in government lots 4 and 5, section 15, township 112 north, range 47 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota.
Move approval.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, call the roll.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter C, action to approve resolution number 17-31, a resolution authorizing the purchase of 1 new 2018 truck chassis off of a Beetle County, South Dakota bid.
Move approval.
Second.
Need a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Where did this come in? You budgeted for this, obviously.
Yes.
How'd it come in to what we
That's
budgeted for?
exactly what we wanted because they honored what was last year.
Okay. So that's, we budgeted for that
Yes.
dollar amount. Okay.
Yep.
The budget is for this year then?
Yes.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter D, action to approve agreement number 17-49, a State of South Dakota Department of Transportation Improvement Grant Agreement for Preservation, Local Administration for Project BRF 6361, parentheses 0017-1, Brookings County, PCN number 06H7, structure number 06-150-219.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion?
This is the one that we'll just do an epoxy overlay on, and that will also be next year, hopefully.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Krogman,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter E, action approve agreement number 17-50, a State of South Dakota Department of Transportation Improvement Grant Agreement for Preservation, Local Administration for Project BRO 8006, parentheses 0017-2, Brookings County, PCN 06H8, structure number 06176-050.
Move approval.
Second.
Need a motion and a second. Discussion?
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Bartley,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Action to approve agreement number 17-51, a State of South Dakota Department of Transportation Improvement Grant Agreement for Preservation, Local Administration for Project BRF 6317, parentheses 0017-3, Brookings County, PCN number 06H9, structure number 06220-190.
Move approval.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. Any discussion? Is this the epoxy also, Dick?
Yes, and
What-
this is a rather new structure. What they expect out of, if they are awarded, is it will extend the life at least 10 to 15 years of that structure. And so what we're doing is protecting the calciums and the different chemicals are really a problem for our bridges and whatever in their age. So it's only beneficial to do it to something that's relatively, not only has good integrity, but it's also money well spent because it's going to seal that surface for a long time.
And what's the average cost of one of these?
Usually it's about 100 and some thousand, but that also includes the engineering involved in it.
Okay.
And that the one also, if it gets too far, see, like the one they're doing in a couple weeks, the one on Highway 6, they have to do a low slump cement overlay first, and then apply the epoxy at a later date. And that's going to be, that came in, it was estimated at 140,000, and that's going to be, it was bid in March or late February at about 149,000. So,
Okay.
and again, with these grants, why we try to be so particular as much as we can, because we're responsible for 100% over the grant amount. So that added another 9,000 to that project. That'll be our local responsibility.
Call the roll, please.
Pierce,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter G, action approve agreement number 17-52, an application for occupancy of right-of-way of county highway made by Meyer Services Incorporated.
Move approval.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing-
Rural water line that asking to go through there, looks like.
Yep.
Power line.
No, it's rural water.
Rural water on
Right.
I think this is going to a residence, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter H, action to approve agreement number 17-53, an application for occupancy of right-of-way of county highways made by Sioux Valley Energy.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter I, action to approve agreement number 17-54, an application for occupancy of right-of-way of county highways made by Sioux Valley Energy.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter J, action to approve agreement number 17-55, an application for occupancy of right-of-way of county highways made by Klein John Farms Incorporated.
Move approval.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. Any information on this, Dick?
This one is something that is a little different. This is that area where we have a problem with the water in the ditch along our Highway 5. As you notice, he had the signature from Steve Sapp, because I'm sure he would have some concerns if it was going to have a adverse impact. What I think he's hoping to do is intercept the water that's coming right at that intersection northeast. It's our Highway 5 and that township road that goes north of Steve's place, and try to get the water to flow then across to the east to get to the river. And right now, the water has to follow our ditch real close to a third of a mile, if not a half mile, south on the west side of the road, and then goes under at that new box culvert we replaced last year. So that's where it ends up. And then that creek follows over into the river. What Mr. Kleinjohn would like to do, if I understand him correctly, is if he can bore under the road with this 18-inch pipe, it will get the water going in an easterly direction. And I think his hopes are to run it underground for a distance to daylight it, that it will go to the river. So as far as permitting goes, he's did the correct things. I don't have a history of how you've dealt with drainage issues in the past as far as boring under the road for drainage. I just made sure that he understood it had to be bored. He couldn't open trench it.
Mm-hmm. Are the landowners to the east aware of this?
That's that. I don't know who that person is. I've heard the name, but I would guess that he's got permission from them, but that would be something that would have to be checked into, because I can't say for sure. If that's what he was going to do, I would have to think he would have, but that's my opinion.
He's not here, I'm guessing.
No, I'd like to have a little more info on this before
Okay.
we approve putting a culvert. I mean, it's basically putting
Sure.
a culvert underneath the road, our road.
Right, 18-inch PVC pipe, and that's why I'm hoping that he's going to continue, but I'll find out for sure.
Okay.
But
We have to know that the downstream landowner is going to be okay with that. I
Sure.
don't want to flood anybody.
Okay.
It'd be helpful if he was here to discuss it and we could look at it and have some type of a view of where that water is and where he intends to move it to, so we
Okay.
can make sure that it's not causing somebody else, undue harm. And
Correct.
so, I mean,
Okay.
I guess I would say if you talk to him, we put it on the agenda and wants to do another
I'll do that.
application, it'd be great if he was here to explain it and show it what he's looking to do, because it's not something that we just normally just say okay to.
Okay.
Gotta have more information.
All right.
I'd make a motion to table until our next agenda.
Second.
Yeah, motion, second table. Call roll.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter K, action to declare items as surplus property to be disposed of or to sell via online auction.
Move approval.
Second?
Get a motion and a second. Stacy, you have background on this, or?
These are just a few more items that we would like to, those items to sell. Looks like Sean has, I'm not exactly sure what they are, but Sean would probably
Okay.
know a little bit better. And then a rolling chair from the finance office we would like to surplus and have them put on the online auction.
Okay.
When are you planning on doing that online?
So if they are approved today, we have to advertise twice in the newspapers. So they would be advertised, let's see, August 3rd and August 10th, and then we could start the online auction August 14th is the soonest that we could start the online auction.
The reason I asked is because I know that if 4-H gets moved, they will have some surplus stuff, but we'll just have to hang on to that till we do the next one.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Discussion, possible action to approve the proposed charter establishing the Brookings County and City Joint Jurisdiction Committee.
That proposed charter is in your packet. I did have a couple of things highlighted. The first is Todd Kays, the executive director with First District. I had sent this to him, and he did reach out and indicate that they would be willing to act as a facilitator for this process at no charge to either the city or the county. So he or Luke Muller would assist with that, with this project, providing the research and facilitating the discussions at the direction of the committee. If that's something that we're interested in, that we would need to add that kind of language to the charter. And then secondly, and this might lead into that first one, the meeting notifications and the agendas. If that's something that would come out of my office, I'm fine with that. Or if that would maybe have to be a discussion with Todd as well, to see if that is something that First District then would facilitate as well, if they would do the agendas and the noticing. Or maybe it would be kind of a combination of both, working with First District to get those agendas noticed.
So today, are we just establishing this, or are we choosing members?
We're approving the charter.
Okay, but not appointing.
We still need approval from the city.
Yeah.
Right. Before we appoint, I would assume.
Right. This then after, if you approve this, then this would go to the city for their approval
But we
as well.
we have to decide what role First District is going
Yes.
to play in this first. And my opinion is, I think that it would be great to have them facilitate this. And it would be a neutral party doing the meeting notices and the agenda with input from the city and the county. So if they would be willing to do that, which I think, I was at the picnic, First District picnic on Thursday, and Todd approached me and said, again, I'd like to reiterate that we're very willing to work with both groups on this and help facilitate it. So if they would be willing to help do the agenda and notice the meetings, I think that would be a good route to go. But I think we need to check with them first.
I visited with Todd also, and he has talked to the people at the city planning side, so they're aware of his request to facilitate. So if we could change this at the discretion of the committee, I assume this was something we added at the discretion of the committee. First District Association of Local Government may be solicited. Can we change? We added that?
Yes.
Okay.
If I may interrupt for a minute, I was at the City Master Comprehensive Plan public meeting, and Todd was there, and Mayor Corbett was there, and the three of us talked about this. Mayor Corbett has seen the proposed charter. The rest of the council, I don't know that they've already seen it. He was satisfied with having First District assist in whatever way. I think when the language that's in there right now was developed, we just didn't know exactly what First District was asking us to put in. And I wonder if the right language might be what we got there, or at the discretion of the committee to facilitate the committee purposes and goals, something like that, and then let the committee decide how they want to proceed. But Todd's very interested in working on this because he thinks there are some things that in our joint jurisdiction ordinance that really need to be modernized.
I guess I would like to, rather than that discretion of the committee, it'd just be, it's in the charter, the First District Association of Local Governments will facilitate the meetings.
I agree.
I agree.
I think that's an important component to have involved. So how would you exactly word that?
That first sentence then there, highlighted in yellow, if we put in the First District Association of Local Governments will facilitate the meetings and the discussion at the direction of the committee. Is that language you were comfortable with?
Yeah, I am.
I think that works.
Okay, I can make that change. As far as the noticing of the meetings, I think that's a discussion then that I would have to have with Todd.
Yes, I agree. I think we can't put that in until we talk
To see if that's something that he would, if First District would handle that, or if that's still something that we need to do locally, which I am more than happy to do that for the committee. But if First District is handling it, then I don't have to worry about it. So how would you like to proceed then? Would you like to table this until the next meeting and bring back a clean version of this after I've had a chance to have this additional talk with Todd?
Yes. And it was discussion and possible action, and we've not made any motions. So I think just
bring it
wait,
back
bring it back
at the next meeting?
Yep.
And is everybody okay with that?
When's this going to be on the city's agenda? Do we know? Is it going to be on the agenda before we approve it?
No, I have not given this to them yet until we have had a chance to approve it.
Just as a matter of notice, the 5 business days prior to each meeting is probably not enough notice. Probably needs to be more than that to make sure the committees has a quorum, so to speak.
Yes.
That's something you can address with
Todd. With Todd, yeah.
Address that with Todd and how many, because they plan their things out far enough in advance that it would certainly.
And this is a large enough group that I think people will need to have plenty of time in order to establish a quorum. So I will plan on putting this back on the August 8th agenda for approval after I've had the discussion with Todd.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Letter M, be it noted, Chairperson Jensen appoints 2 commissioners to the Intergovernmental Meeting Group. We had a meeting last week, and I believe we were going to meet, was it quarterly or monthly? Quarterly. And they'd like basically same people attend every time for discussion purposes. I guess I would like to continue to do it, and Ryan, if that's okay with everybody, Ryan and I would be the 2 people on intergovernmental meeting. So. Okay, Commission Department Director report.
The first part of my report, I can bring it up here, maybe. Several weeks ago, Tim Dwyer with the SDSU Foundation visited with the board about the foundation using the county's tax-exempt bonding authority next year in 2018. This was back at the beginning of June. He was here, and I think the board had indicated at that time that you wanted to get through budget discussions, which we have had. If he's wondering if you have made a decision or if you want him to come back. I know we also had, sought the counsel from Tom Grimman, which I did, and he said, basically, if it doesn't affect anything that we have going on, if I think it's up to $10 million we can give them in our tax-exempt bonding authority. If we authorize SDSU to use that in a calendar year, then that's not available for the county to use during that time period, that calendar year. So now I guess I'm looking for board direction, and so is Mr. Dwyer, and if we need to, if that's something that they can come back and make a formal request, I believe that's in the form of a resolution to seek our, to request our tax-exempt bonding authority, or is that something that the board thinks that we may need in 2018? He had reached out to me wondering if the board had made a decision.
How would that affect our bond now, Vicki, with the expansion if we move
It
forward?
would not.
It won't.
It won't, but in light of everything that's been going on with the jail expansion, if we were to build off-site, very obviously it's going to cost us a lot more money. And so I would be very hesitant to give up our 10 million bonding authority because we may need it.
When is their deadline for?
I don't know if they have a deadline.
Would it be safe to say that if the jail project were to go off-site, that we're looking at 2019 before we would have to build? I mean, we're talking about land acquisition and an awful lot of other planning in order for that to take place. So I don't know that we would bond before 2019 if they actually ended up off-site. I think this will be a long enough discussion that it would probably take that long. And then we have another 10 million in 2019. Would that be correct?
Yes.
If we needed it in 2019, that's when we would. So it's kind of, we're on the fence. We don't really know we're going to need it, but at the same time, it would be probably 2019 before we did.
And they need it in 2018.
They need it in 2018. And so I guess the discussion is still up in the air whether or not we're going to need it in 2018, or if it's an off-site situation, I'm looking at, in reality, 2019. Because you'd have a site selection, you'd have, there'd be some serious time frame. I know looking at this building, it took another year, almost a year and a half to get the site selection done and the land acquired, so.
I don't know. Do we want to take that chance that we don't need it? I'm pretty hesitant.
So do we know, did we ask him when his deadline would be?
That's what you know.
If he has, it needs to be done before December 31st and 17, we may know more and have more discussion on that and have a little bit of an idea. I understand where you're coming from, and I don't want to lose that opportunity, but I also don't want it, if somebody needs it and we don't use it, to sit there and not, where somebody could be using it. And think if we can get some more information on whether we're moving forward to a different site and a timeline for that, if he could hold off a little bit, and I don't know what his plans are, if it would change his plans, that if he doesn't get the 10 million, that he goes on the open market and gets 10 million. I'm not sure, but if we could find out when he needs to know by, in light of the situation that Commissioner Miller brought up, I think it would be prudent for us to get some more information.
I can reach out to him and find that out. Then in your packet, and Vicki had brought this up earlier about the general fund surplus cash at 42.22% as of the end of June, and the comparison information was included in your packet. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the timeline, if you are okay with it, and that Vicki and I are heading in the right direction for the supplemental budget for the official purchase of the OAC. And what we've discussed kind of in the past was to use $500,000 of cash that's in the building fund, the 301 fund. 250 of that is already, half of that is already assigned for 4-H, future 4-H. And then the other 475,000 would be from the general fund. So we would need to do a supplemental budget to transfer that cash from the general fund over to the building fund, and then to also supplement the expense line within the county building fund for the correct amount as well. So what we're kind of looking at for a timeline, and we're assuming that as we move forward, that will close on September 15th. At the next meeting, that you would take action to authorize the finance office to publish that notice of hearing. We'd publish on the 17th of August, and then the public hearing would be September 5th, where we would take action on the supplemental budget resolution, as well as action to transfer some cash from the general fund to the building fund. And then we also have to unassign the $250,000 within the building fund, so it rolls back into that fund balance. Does that all make sense, and does that sound reasonable? Then that would be then in time to meet our September 15th deadline. Okay. I received an email from Joan Crooks at the Conservation District, and they are looking at either August 9th or the 16th to schedule their annual conservation tour. I reached out to her yesterday and said that the 16th is already 8 County up in Dual County that day at noon, and they're looking at this starting at 9:30 and then ending with a lunch back at their shop. So really, we are kind of down to the one date of August 9th. Does that work?
I won't be here, but that's fine. I've been on every tour since I've been a commissioner.
Have you toured their shop?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have.
Does it work for everyone else? The 9th. Mike, yes. Ryan? Larry is maybe. Leanne, does August 9th at 9:30 work for you?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
I have 3 maybes and a yes and a no.
You know, they go to a lot of work to do this, so I think we either need to we need to commit or not, and so maybe we need a different date.
Let's try a different date.
I'll visit with Joan on that and see if we can't come up with something else. We did receive, I handed out a thank you from the Uncle Sam Jam folks. I also handed out some information from the Senior Companions Recognition event it's coming up Friday, August 4th. It's at 10:30 that Friday morning up in Watertown at the Elks Lodge, and they are also asking for an RSVP for that. Do any of you plan to attend, or can any of you attend that on Friday, August 4th at 10:30?
They're asking
I went last year.
for one designee
Okay.
to go up there. Neither, that's the day we leave.
What's that? August 4th.
Can anybody go on
Leanne,
the
you
4th?
interested, or?
That would be
I guess not.
I don't know at this time. I'll have to check the schedule at the office because I think I have some people going on vacation.
She didn't have to hang up on us just because she didn't want to go.
I think she probably was going to say something. She hit maybe the wrong button.
Sorry about that.
We took it as a no, you did not want to go.
I'm not available. Thank you.
On the mic, or?
I'll have to check my schedule at work and let you know. I think I have people on vacation, so
Okay.
might have to.
I'll go if Mike can't.
You let me know, and then Larry will go. Okay.
It was interesting last year when I went. It was very, very good program for the elderly people. Gets them out to the store and stuff like that.
And the only other thing I have is just some dates. August 1st, as Marty had mentioned, is the National Night Out event at Pioneer Park. It was, like he had said, that date got changed from when the officers were here and had discussed it with you. So it's August 1st from 6 to 9 at Pioneer Park. We do have 4-H Achievement Days coming up, July 31st through August 3rd. And I believe you all received individually a letter for the 4-H barbecue. That's from 5 to 7 on Thursday, August 3rd. I think you all received did you all receive your job duties? Okay, that is so the barbecue is August 3rd. August 10th, several of us will be participating in the golf outing, CDI golf outing at the country club. And I did check, it is August 16th, Wednesday, August 16th is the next 8-county meeting in Clear Lake. Dual County is hosting, that starts at noon on August 16th. I don't have a location on that yet. When I get information, but I do need to RSVP for that. So does anybody know that they will?
Yes. 8-county.
8-county, August 16th in Clear Lake at noon. Mike, not
I'll
sure.
let you know.
Leanne, do you know if you plan to attend?
I can't. I have BEDC that over the noon hour.
Okay. And then Thursday, August 17th, there is a Brookings Area Workforce Conference at the Swift Health Center. That's kind of all day, 8:30 to 4. I don't need to know now, but if you do want to attend that, let me know, and then we can RSVP for you for that.
I have an 8:30 joint powers meeting.
Stacy, do you know, do we have to pay the $50 admission fee for that?
I believe so. This is with BEDC. I could visit with Al, but I think so.
I'd like to attend, but I'd just like to go for different parts. I can't be there for the whole day, but the things that are related to what we're doing in the county, I'd like to participate with for some of that.
I will do some checking for you.
Thank you.
Then we have, there was also in your packet, September 26th and 27th, this is a little ways out yet, a Juvenile Justice Summit at the Dakota Hotel down in Sioux Falls, 9 to 3 on September 26th through the 27th.
And I think it would behoove us to go. However, the 26th is commission.
Yeah, and that's our last Tuesday to approve
Right.
the
Pretty important.
annual budget. I think that's all I have unless you have any other questions for me.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on, Deputy State's Attorney's report.
I really have nothing to relay except for that what we've been working on as a commission, working on the different documents. So really, there's nothing else.
Leanne, do you have a report?
I do. On July 11th, I attended the planning and zoning meeting, and as Richard indicated, the tornado alarm went off in the building, and we spent a half hour down in the basement, got to see how that process worked and how organized we were on it, and we had a good meeting that night. On July 12th, I attended the City Master Comprehensive Plan as the liaison from us. And that was a public meeting that was at the high school. They had good attendance, and they're moving along in getting the city's comprehensive plan completed. I attended the Women in Leadership for the Chamber Social on July 12th. I went to the safety and traffic meeting with that Marty was at on July 13th, and it looks like there's going to be maybe some changes on that street that's right on the north side of on 4th Street on the north side of the jail, whatever happens with our setbacks. And then I attended the City Master Plan Advisory meeting again on July 13th with their committee. Was with all of you at the executive session on July 18th and the governor's events that day. We had a BEDC meeting on July 19th. They're moving forward with some issues as relates to offering some vocational school types activities in the city of Brookings or in the county of Brookings, I should say. They'd be headquartered in the city, but as relates to programs that employers are asking for, and that's moving forward. Went to the mayor's reception for volunteers on July 19th and attended the city-county safety picnic on July 20th. We are moving forward with working on the ordinances. We had a couple of glitches. I'm not there this week, and I'm not sure, Terry, that I sent you an email that said that, but I'm not there this week. But we are getting ready to start reviewing that ag section of the ordinance. We're pretty close to that. We kind of left that piece to the end. That's all I have to report.
Mike?
July 13th, we had a subcommittee meeting for the Mental Health Task Force. We reported those results at the July 17th Mental Health Task Force meeting, and they're working on obviously trying to put together all the data that's necessary for the report to the City Council later on this year or next. On the 18th, attended the executive session of the Commission. Also attended that day the Capitol for a day. There was a morning reception for the governor and a luncheon for the governor that we attended. Was well attended, I think, at both of the events. It was interesting to hear the same report twice with a few extra added in things at the luncheon from the governor. It was a good report on how we're doing in the state government system. On the 19th, I met with ICAP in the morning for a short period of time. I had to leave to take some kids to grandkids to the airport. On the 20th, the First District picnic in Watertown with some conversations with Todd about where we're looking to do things in the future. Also on the 21st, I was asked to attend a Bush grant review from the BEDC. There was a representative from the Bush grant. They had applied for a grant. We're one of, I think it was 13 finalists, which gave the BEDC a $10,000 grant. If we're successful in the final analysis on a workforce development type grant, that we presented an awful lot of things to them. The staff person from Bush Grant was out of Minneapolis and asked a lot of really good questions. If we're successful, that could be a grant that could be almost $150,000. So we were a finalist last year, received the $10,000, but we did not make the final cut this year. I think we got a little better presentation and a need for how we would spend the money. So that completes my report.
Mr. Krogman.
All right. On the 13th, I met with a group concerning the jail expansion. I did good discussion there. On the 17th, along with Commissioner Jensen, we met. We had an intergovernmental meeting, something we had talked about a little earlier here in the meeting, and what that is a meeting between school board, city, the mayor, council member, SDSU, and then ourselves. And basically what it is a planning session. It's where are we going? What are we focusing on? What do we look at for the next couple of years with all of those entities? Because basically we're all tied together some way, somehow. What SDSU does will, affect us. What Brookings school system does will affect us a little bit too. And so it was a very good meeting, very informational. We talked about our needs for our bridge repair and our focus of what we've looked at trying to accomplish. And so we enlightened them with our information. And so I think it was a good meeting, and that's why they want to do it again. So the consensus was to be able to meet every quarter to discuss how things are going, if there's any changes, and just make sure we're all on the same path direction, that nothing just all of a sudden just shows up and it causes issues. So good meeting. So we're going to keep doing that again, and then Larry and I will be on that. And they wanted some consistency, I think, just to make sure that we're not somebody getting caught to speed that we do that. So, we'll meet there, and I think they're looking at the next meeting. They sent a poll out here. They're looking at probably early October for the next meeting for that. So, and then on the 18th, we had again the Capitol for a day, and was able to attend the social and governor's meeting. Was mainly focused on workforce, and that was his thing, and that's what his focus is going to be, I think, for the remaining portion of his term is workforce. So we're going to try to definitely want to stay on top of that. And then I was at the Growth Partnership meeting on the 20th. Things are going well. There's discussion of a new building being built there from lab space, and so that'd be nice to get another building going in that. And there's actually interested for possibly 2 buildings, and so that's good news there to get that going again and get that park filled up with buildings and space and research and all that good stuff. And then also they did receive a grant. It was a 0% interest loan for $300,000, and so that was a good news for that they can pay off their interest-bearing loan and get the 0% loan. So that was good news for that too. So that's what I have.
On July 12th, I attended a weed board meeting, and the first round of spraying is done and operation is moving on, cutting thistles and weed enforcement. Then on the 18th, I attended the executive session meeting we had, and the governor's Capitol for a day social at the Children's Museum with the governor and the first lady, and then later on, just like everybody else, the luncheon. And it's always interesting to be a small group in front of the governor to hear what he has to say and to have his ear. So it was nice that all of us could be there. On the 20th, I went to the First District picnic in Watertown, and it's a good time to talk with other commissioners. Cottington County is having trouble with their jail also, and so we discussed that a little bit, and sometimes in not organized meetings, but just at a more social event, it's easier to just visit about what's going on in each other's counties. And then lastly, I had a call from a citizen regarding our police coverage in Elkton. They thought it was excessive. That's why I asked how many cars we had. So that's all I have.
Okay, on the 17th, attended the intergovernmental meeting, as Ryan said. It was interesting hearing what's going on at the school, with their busing concerns and things kind of coincides with what our bridge programs are and our road improvements. Also up on campus, there's a lot going on. Barry Dunn, the president, he kind of enlightened us on a few things that are going on up there, and it's a lot going on up there. The student housing, the married student housing is being renovated, and more housing being made available closer to campus. On the 18th, we had an executive session at 8:30, and then Capitol for a day with the governor. It was a good event. On the 20th, I attended the city-county picnic. While I was there, it was well attended. I encourage employees and supervisors to go. I think it's a great deal. So that's all I have also. I don't know, we want to take a short break before 11 o'clock. Let's take a short recess before 11 o'clock scheduled public hearing.
Yellow.
Hello, we are back.
Great.
All right.
Okay, we're back from recess. It's 11 o'clock. We have a scheduled public hearing on Brookings County Highway 2018 5-year road and bridge improvement plan. Open the public hearing with proponents. If Dick, would you like to give your presentation?
Instead of like a formal presentation, I've got some maps here that maybe if we could just take a minute and people that are here to attend could look at them and see what we're kind of looking at here, and then I'll go into more detail with specific projects. If you guys, or do you want me to just bring them back there, or it might be easier to come up here? But yes. But by the state standards, we have to provide what projects we're going to do as part of this bridge grant process. Here's you asked yesterday, that's for bridges within the county. And if you look at the certain ones have weight restrictions, certain ones are under 20 feet, others are over 20 feet. And that gives you the magnitude of what we deal with here in Brookings County. And then as far as chip sealing, that's all color coordinated by the year. We try to do so much each year, and that's where we're going. And that's why it's important that you people are here. If there's any other projects that you would like to see moved up. Now the project
Once they get done.
on Highway 12 you're talking about, the reason that isn't on the 2018 because we've taken our own funds and sped that up. We've paid for everything up front. And so we won't be able to apply for a grant for that necessarily until we get...
Dick, can we need to, as you explain that, we need to put that up on the overhead so the public can also see this.
I didn't know they brought it. Okay.
That's so that if anyone's watching this on TV, they
all right, so they can see it too. All right. Okay, so...
Are you going to show those maps? It's to you. The camera's above you. So if you move, you can move the mic stand. There you go.
Okay, the first map here, and this is our seal coat projects and projected seal coat projects for the next 5 years. And so if you look at the scale off to the side, 2017 is the red. We will be in the northwest and predominantly west area, except for 11 down there. What we've tried to do is consolidate and kind of specialize in particular areas with our mileage so that we're progressively dealing with chip sealing because it's dollars very well spent for preventive maintenance. Probably your second best. First would be crack filling, and we do the crack filling the year before we chip seal. So as we move across in the years, as you see that, they're about equal in mileage, and it's also the culvert replacement, the crack sealing, all the other things that would be earmarked or designated as more of a preventive maintenance task that gets done in coordination with this map. And it goes up through 2022. The next one, as you get into the grant process with the state of South Dakota DOT, they have a number of items that we have to provide for them that show not only our bridges on our system, but also where we've accomplished things and where we are going with in the future. And so therefore, if you look at this map, this will show you every structure that's labeled a structure in Brookings County. And also, there's 45 of these that are load restrictions on them. There's 163 about that are structures over 20 feet, and the remainder are structures under 20 feet, which we've, again, did a very good job of upgrading those in the past few years, but you also realize the magnitude of what we've got. Also, if you look at the structures along the Big Sioux River, you can clearly see that it's quite an investment in infrastructure that we're dealing with here in Brookings County. Unfortunately, over the years, we've never had to close any bridges yet. There's been a couple that have failed and not reopened, but anyway. Then this last map is where our road overlays are going. This can be extremely flexible in nature because the last few winters have been very kind to us and not created a lot of road breakup that we had to address as a patching service or task. We've been able to focus mainly all our money in the overlay. If you notice there, again, we try to keep the progression going in a systematic approach so that not only are we dealing with some of the heavier traffic roads, but also some that have demands on them, like with a dairy or a bean plant or the ethanol plant. So all those things come together, and we try to approach it the best we can with what we've got available to us as far as funds. And that's that one in a nutshell. Now we move on to what is actually our 5-year plan. And there's really two halves to this. The first half, as far as grants, applications with the state, they only care about the bridges and preservation and those types of projects. To the right are other projects that we've done on our own that aren't even eligible for grant monies. And as you can see, like replace old box culverts, doing bridges under 20 feet. For example, since 2012, we have done 14, after this summer, it'll be 14 structures under 20 feet that have people, really caused hardships for people on these different roads that have been upgraded to box culverts, which are very significant in keeping the traffic flows moving. I can point those out later if someone has a specific question on those. The other thing we do on our own is that with the traffic patterns and the numbers, again, I mentioned earlier in my report that traffic counts are extremely important. We verify and hopefully even exceed what the state has determined our average daily traffic counts, and that works to our advantage also. I think that is about it as an overview of what we're doing. Another thing that we have to include is our annual update of our projects. That works right there, don't it? Yeah. And so you can see by that, that 169,238 that we didn't get a grant for in 2016, we did get the preliminary grant, so that's been done. We did the TSNL, which is tour site location. That's a step. However, we didn't get the reconstruction grant. That's what we're going to apply for this January. And so the status right now is resubmit for replacement, and that'll be for the year 2018. In 2000, with structure 239, that's only 300 yards from the other bridge. We were awarded the preliminary grant in 2016, and they gave us a major rehabilitation and replacement grant in 2017, this February. We've done the TSNL for that, and they've already did the borings to determine what the abutments and everything will be for the structure when they design it. If you remember, we also hired the state of South Dakota when they came and did the borings for that structure to go ahead and do 238, the one we'll be applying for the grant for. So that's been done. We have been extremely diligent in trying to advance anything and everything we can as far as bridge and smaller structures in Brookings County. 240, 123, that's a little bit north of Bushnell. We did the preliminary engineering. We got a grant for that. And then the TSNL was done, and it got deferred in 2017. So in 2018, it'll probably still be in deferment until we get the application put together and see if it would be of value to put in for that. These other structures, the preservation grant for this is right south of the four-way stop, south of Bruce and the first bridge to the west. We put in for a preservation grant, and we got it. They could not come up with what would be eligible for that. I'm sorry, this is the one east of the four-way stop, south of Bruce. And so then, once they came up with the criteria, they went ahead and put it out for bids, and it'll be done this summer because the bidding is already done. The next one for 469th, that one is just putting in for the planning to get that out of the way. That's our smallest cost involved in bridge replacement, but it's just the ones that should be on the agenda in case there is, the state always has a way of dividing up the available funds, and sometimes, like this year, the preliminary engineering was only given to a few because there wasn't enough money. They awarded the preservation first, the reconstruction second, and then the preliminary last. And also with the next bridges that are on the agenda, again, those are preservation ones that we'll be putting in for. That, again, is the epoxy chip seal that hopefully we'll get. Again, the importance of that is being proven by the protection it's giving against the calcium impact of our part of the country. And then we also have to turn in revenue sources that show where the money is coming from. And as you can see, it's quite a significant amount of money, but when you also look at the magnitude of our system within Brookings County, it could certainly be significantly more. I also mentioned here's the 5-year program project listing and what our attempts are to do. And as you can see, the bridge that's on the Sinai Road right west of the Golf Course Road, which would be our Highway 12 and our Highway 19, we have put together an enormous amount of money so far, $264,933, to get it to where it's shovel ready, or the state would call it bid ready. That's probably the most significant one. Again, if we would be lucky enough to get the grant, it wouldn't be probably until 2019, but it would be worth $59,733. So it is significant. Also, the other one on 238, if we get that, as you can see, that's an enormous bridge because it's a river bridge. That construction with those two bridges alone, with 238 and 239, are going to be very close to $3 million. And so if we get fortunate enough to win our grant for 238, that will put us at the $4 million ceiling for a 3-year period. So as we try to get this other one shovel ready that is on Highway 12 right near the Golf Course Road, we planned on that at budget time to possibly go ahead and do that on our own to help matters out in that area. Also, other aspects that I've been working on, the bridge that they mentioned earlier on 16 that's derated, I'm still looking into a possible replacement deck solution that would be considerably less than a replacement of the whole bridge. And if that would come about, that would be something else that we would fund ourselves. But there's a lot of things in the works here, and these summaries are the best I can kind of come up with to show you what exactly we're working with. Then after a project is completed, whether we do it or the state does it, we upgrade our fixed assets inventory and report, and that shows you everything that we did, and it's itemized by the structure number. So as you can see, there's quite a paper trail from idea to completion of a project. And another simple reminder that I'm sure you're all aware of, but the bridges north of Bruce that are going to be finished here in just short order, even after all the hoops were jumped through, they started construction last November 11th, and it's still not done now, the end of July. So, for example, that bridge on 12, if we fund it ourselves and we put it out for bids after the first of the year, if we're fortunate enough, then, if the bid was let in May or June or even March or April, if they started construction in June, it may not be done till, close to February or March of next year. And there's, as you found out on the bridge south of white on 25, there's certain things with the bridge they cannot do when the ground's frozen. And in this part of the country, it's pretty evident that you'll probably have some frost. So if there's any other questions or comments, that's kind of the synopsis of what we've put together. And also, I don't know how you want to take it. I could get out of the way and let some other people bring ideas and suggestions, because that's what the meeting is for.
Dick, the status of the bridge on 12, on County Road 12 going towards Sinai, and the bridge 238, are they at the same status, shovel ready?
Actually, the one on 12 would be a little bit behind, because we haven't got the environmental for that, and that'll be coming as soon as we can get it. The big difference on 238 is the environmental came back yesterday in the mail. Yep. So, and that's, but as far as shovel ready on 238 is good, because we're definitely going with a grant on that one. On the one on 12, it could be considered shovel ready, but we would have to decide if this other one is awarded, we wouldn't want to put in for a grant. So we'd do that on our own, but it would be considered bid ready, certainly.
I mean, for the, to take advantage of the time, if 238, if we swap those around for the grant and paid for 238 and applied for the grant for County Road 12, just throwing that out there. I mean, what, and I mean, the load posting on 12 is less, but
I would have to analyze the total points, grant points we'd have available. Right now, with our new traffic counts and detour routes that comes into play, we're looking extremely strong for 238, and for this 200 or 147, 200, the one on 12. That one is just not, I haven't computed the total amount, because that one has value because it's derated so far.
right.
But as far as switching the two, putting them in for grants and paying for one and not paying for the other, just a guess off the top of my head, I think you'd be better off, because we just missed with 238 the last round. We were one
right
thing out. I don't think we would want to jeopardize, granted they go by the point system, but with these two being so close together, us kind of promising to pick up the tab for them, I don't know how they'd look at that. I really don't know.
But our worst case scenario is we don't receive the grant, the 238. So then we've got a posted bridge right up beside it, and we have to decide which we need to do. We need to do those two together.
Yes, if 238 does not get a grant, and that's our highest number or points bridge. If that don't happen, I think we would still be absolutely smartest to pay for it ourselves and get those two done at the same time. They're only 300 yards apart. Then I would, since that would give us a window of money to meet our $4 million ceiling, the next year I would put in for the one on 12. And depending upon how the points come out this year, everybody's getting in the game.
Yep.
We would see, but I guess you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch. But I would say our best bet is to stay with the program and get 238 and 239 done at the same time. Take care of, they're almost the same size. The big difference would be is when they get into, like, let's say when they went and did the borings for the bridge on 12 to see what it needs, if they came up with the same good readings or determination of soils, it should be basically about the same price as the one on 238.
Yeah. So then we just have to decide on a bid date to move forward with.
Right, yep. And 238, you got to remember, is going to be, I don't want to say cheaper, but it should come in considerably cheaper because the contractor that gets 239 is going to get 2 bridges within a small, so that's why I would really lean towards staying that direction we're going. You want me to move out of the way and others can?
You keep more proponents? Just any more proponents? I don't know if you're proponent or opponent. I have a question. Okay. Just state your name and.
Rob Hexum.
Rob.
You're talking about the bridge on County Road 12. Have you designated a river channel yet? Is the old river channel the actual river channel? And is the diversion channel still the diversion, for what lack of a better term, because there's more water going through the diversion channel than there is the actual river bridge.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not going to be the actual river channel, why do you need that big of a bridge? Why can't you put a box culvert in it and save some money there? Because if you go down on 216th Street where those 3 culverts are again,
Mm-hmm.
that's the river channel right now, the way the water flows. So eventually you're going to have to put a bridge in there to get rid of the water. But in the meantime, on County Road 12, where do you detour when you do replace that bridge? Because there's no place to go.
And that might be addressed when they do the hydrology on that, right?
Yes, that would be nothing we could determine, but
No.
they would study the
Our engineers.
current
I understand what you're saying, you know.
But
That's
in
a
the
good question for the Corps.
We're landlocked. We can't go anywhere without a restricted bridge. So how do we continue to conduct our business in the next 3 to 5 years, because this, how long the process is going to take?
Mm-hmm.
Do we rely on one minimum maintenance road to get to market and hope it never rains? Or do we have to go clear to the Ward rest area to get on the interstate to get back to Aurora? Or go through Volga? Or do we simply bypass the markets in Brookings County and go elsewhere? And look at the economic impact that that brings to the county. So, those are my questions to you guys. Because we don't have the answers. It's pretty evident.
Well, we've identified that bridge as something that we want to get done as fast as possible, and we're willing to potentially pay for it out of county funds without any help from the state. So we realize the situation that's there. It's going to take, I don't think it'll take 3 to 5 years. I think we can get it done within a couple of years, because we've instructed Dick to start the engineering process for that bridge, and he has started that. And so we are working on a grant for the 238, which is that right next door to each other, so we can use the efficiencies of a bridge being done, do another one next to it, and hopefully we get that grant. If we do, it's going to max us out. We can only do $4 million in 3 years, okay, from the state. So if we get that, we know we're not going to get the grant for 12, but we're still going to do it anyway. We're going to spend $1.3 million or almost $2 million to do it as fast as the process will allow. And so we've made a commitment to get that done, because it is a bridge that's very important. As far as the water going under and changing the type of bridge there, that's not out of our control. If that water turns back and it does change back to the main channel, we don't want to underbuild it either. And so the engineering people will look at that. They'll tell us the bridge that needs to be designed there for the capacity, the future capacity, and then we'll pay to build it. And so we want to get that opened up as soon as possible. And I think as a commission, we've made that commitment to just pay it out of our pocket, not wait for a state grant. Okay, because we could wait 2 more years and say, well, we don't have money from the state, so we're not going to do it. And then now it's a 5-year process, and we know we can't do that. And so in the meantime, it's a pain for you. We understand that. And that is your paths or Volga or Ward Road because of that way that is. And that's why we want to get this done as soon as possible.
Even if you replace the bridge on 12, on the river bridge, where are you going to detour everybody? Because like you said, it's not a 30-day process.
It's going to be a long ways. I mean, that's the problem, is we don't have, those township roads are not in great shape that way. So we don't have any other way except to go around that far. So it's not good. We understand that, but we really have no other choice because the roads are of the condition that they are.
And that's why Dick is looking at the County Road 16 west of the Blue Water Tower. I don't know if that'd be beneficial, but there's a posted bridge there. He's looking at an option for that also. And I'm not sure, I'm sure those 2 bridges on South 77 that we're talking about, 238, 239, you know, we get those done if that's going to help you out or not. You got to, I know you got to be able to get there.
Right.
Yep.
And that will, hopefully, we'll get that grant for 238. And those two will be done together so that those bridges will no longer be posted.
And that is going to be in what year?
Well, hopefully we get it in the next year.
Next year.
We already have the one. We're trying to get 238 so that they can be done together, so we get them done the most cost-efficient way that we possibly can.
Because it doesn't make sense to fix one and then the other one
Still have a posted one.
For 2 years. Yeah, exactly. Right. So we want to get those done together. Hopefully in 2018 is when we're going to have those built, okay? And depending on 12, is that going to be 2018 or 19? It'll depend how fast, you know, we're waiting for the environmental, we're waiting for, you know, the engineering and different stuff like that. So could it be in 2018? It's hard to build a bridge in a year and a half. It really is. But if it works out, you know, I think we'd want to do it as fast as possible. We'll get it done.
That's something also to mention, in a perfect world, if we got this grant and we sped up the one on 12, you could clearly see in the summer of 2018 or sometime during the year of 2018 that you'd have both bridges completely removed on 77 South, and you'd also have the bridge completely removed on 12. And so not only your dilemma, but for people traveling in and out of Brookings, it'll be a real challenge. So but after that year, then it'll be looking pretty good again.
Where are you going to send the buses? Going to bus even cross a 6-ton bridge? On 12?
I don't believe so. That's like I said, we were in a meeting with the school board, and that was some of the questions. They wanted to make sure they were updated on our road and bridge projects, and that was the exact question. Our bus routes, you know. So.
Bus routes, snow plows.
Yep.
Fire trucks, ambulances.
Correct.
We got to get that bridge done. It accelerated. The deterioration accelerated. It was not even on our radar that bad. And then when they did the test a year ago, it had accelerated the depreciation or deterioration of it to where it's an emergency now, and so we're going to do it. So,
you know, and our main concern is some of these river bridges. I mean, there are major roads in the county, and we haven't had a lot of water like we have 20 years ago, where you had a road, the county road by Bruce, and you had to go all the way to county road or the state road 28 through S-Line to get around up there. I mean, we got to make sure we keep some routes east and west too. So we know your concerns.
As long as
And you know, Lana brought up earlier the issue with the channel on the river. I was in contact with one of your supervisors in Madera Township, and I had high hopes that I thought it was going to be remedied, that you're going to be able to move some trees and get the channel reestablished. And at the last moment, something happened with the Corps, and it fell through. You've got the landowner on board now, and you've done everything you can do. And
we started this process 6 years ago with that, and nothing's been done. Because everybody met right there at the dike and looked at each other and went, I don't know, and walked away. And so now 6 years later, it's getting worse, and now the problem is escalated, and it's gonna cost more money.
Mm-hmm.
Are we gonna see any action on
And we can't control that because that's the core.
it? I understand, but from a landowner's perspective, we don't have
No.
any say with the Corps.
None of us do.
As a township, we don't have any.
Right.
What's it take?
And if you put something together that you have to go to the court to testify, you know, it's causing some, I mean, it's causing problems for us too. You know, at that time, we may choose to go with you to speak with the
But wouldn't it make more
court.
sense? You guys have more pull than little old us. Why don't you guys start the process? Because it's affecting your bridges, your roads as well.
We've tried to pursue that. I mean, talk to him, and I think it takes a effort of everybody together to do it. The township, the county, state.
So how do we start this process? We started it 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and do we have to start all over from scratch? Starting from the landowner to the township to the county? And start that whole, because you got a 2-week window where you can play with the Corps.
We probably need to identify who the Corps will listen to. And I don't know if that's a state representative or a state governor, or if that's our U.S. reps that need to talk to them.
How about that water task force? I'm not sure if that.
Yeah, you know, because that I'm not sure who the Corps will listen to. You know, and heck, they flooded here and flooded without listening to anybody. So I'm not sure the state has any pull on it either. It's probably got to be our congressional out in D.C. that may have to do something. So a letter to them, talking to them, would see if they would respond, and I think we'd be willing to be on that letter too, with everybody on the stuff, and maybe a letter to our representatives out there in D.C., maybe see if they could get something going.
I think with our bridge project moving forward, we probably will generate some concerns when the hydrology comes back on it also. Right.
Should we want to put together a letter, stating something like that to send to our congressmen and women out there and see if we can get a response? And
that'd be awesome.
We want to bring it from us as a Brookings County Commission, and we could certainly get landowners' signatures on it, township board presidents on there or chairpersons, and maybe we should put together that and see if we can get a response out of them.
I think there'll be some value in when they do the hydrology report on that bridge also, and we can view we have concerns, and it'll be noted in that process.
This is switched from, like you had talked to Jay Gilbertson, you had talked about that 60-some% goes there now.
68%.
68% and 32 goes there. So, if we can get some numbers with that and back that up, let's send it to them and see what we can get done and follow up on it.
I think it would be good to talk with Jay Gilbertson on that, regarding that letter, to get the figures from him.
And I wonder if he would have some people that he could talk to, or we could send the letter to also, that might have some insight on that. You send it to the regional core group or somebody, also.
Was Jay involved with that process before? Jay Gilbertson?
Nathan Morey with the Corps engineers we talked to before too.
So
those are the people that have the expertise in how to proceed. And I guess I go back to Jay, if it's 6 years ago, we'd start over again and say, obviously nothing's changed, so.
I think the letter would come better from the county commission
Well, in addition to that, though, I think we need to get all those parties together, and maybe you just need
Everybody needs to be on it.
Yep.
you need to set up some sort of a meeting so you get everybody at the table and put this letter together and have everybody sign it. So I don't know where you start that, if we have a meeting that would, public hearing and a meeting to establish that communication.
That would be great. We'll put you on the agenda.
Do we just need a meeting, or do we need a public hearing?
No.
Just a meeting of some sort.
Just a meeting to,
It's a letter that we're going to be writing and submitting to our elected officials. I think we can.
extend an invitation to Jay and,
See if you can be here for the agenda. And have that discussion.
Okay,
Go
now
ahead.
opponents.
Thank you.
what do you want?
Opponents.
Okay, back to public hearing opponents. Any opponents would like to speak? Hearing no opponents, I move on to action to approve the Brookings County Highway 2000, close the public hearing, sorry. To close the public hearing. Move on to letter I, action to approve the Brookings County Highways 2018 5-year road and bridge improvement plan.
So moved.
Need a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce? Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Hi.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. Dick?
Thanks.
Okay, back to number 12, I believe.
Yep.
Executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parentheses 3, 4, consulting with legal counsel, contract negotiations.
Do I need to make a motion to move into executive session?
Get a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Leanne, I'm going to hang up, and then I'll call you back once we get into the next room.
Thank you.
All right.